There is a wooden stick that builds an invisible wall against every crawling pest. No sprays, no powders, no chemical runoff into the water. You push it into the dirt, you leave it alone. The insects stop coming. They do not die. They do not suffer. They simply turn around. They leave the soft tomatoes. They leave the heavy cabbage. They abandon the soil entirely. A single piece of cut wood protects an area the size of a two-car garage. It costs nothing. It requires zero maintenance. Modern agriculture says this cannot happen. Modern agriculture says gardening is a war. They sell you liquids. They sell you dust. They sell you plastic traps. They tell you to buy their weapons year after year. But a quiet community in the deep valleys of Ohio never bought those weapons. The Amish grow massive harvests every single season. Their green leaves are whole. Their red fruit is unbitten. Their dark soil is completely clean. They do not fight the beetles. They do not fight the aphids. They repel them. They use a technique so primitive it was systematically erased from every modern agricultural textbook. A technique requiring nothing but the exact right branch from the exact right tree. No treatment, no preservative, no coating. Chemical companies buried this knowledge. They buried it deep to protect a billion-dollar pesticide empire. They made us forget how simple survival used to be. Today, we dig it up. The archive opens in 1862 in the deep river valleys of Lancaster County, Pennsylvania. A harsh winter had just ended. The soil was finally soft. A young farmer named Elias Yoder walked the perimeter of his freshly tilled plot. He carried no seed. He carried no tools. He carried a bundle of pale, rough-cut stakes. He harvested them from the wild Osage orange trees growing near the rushing creek. The wood was dense. The wood was heavy. One bundle weighed 60 pounds, about the same weight as a large sack of grain. Elias pushed the first stake into the earth at the northern corner. He walked 10 paces. He pushed the next stake down. He created a hidden grid. He created a silent boundary. Other settlers watched. They planted their corn. They planted their squash. Weeks passed. The summer heat arrived. With the heat came the swarm. Beetles emerged from the forest edge. Hornworms multiplied under the wide green leaves. Locusts dropped from the humid sky. Neighboring farms lost half their yield in 14 days. The insects devoured the tender stems. The insects stripped the foliage bare. The neighboring English farmers crushed the bugs by hand. They burned sulfur in the fields. They prayed for an early frost. Elias did not burn sulfur. Elias did not lose a single leaf. His vegetables stood tall. His soil remained untouched. The insects reached his property line and stopped. They encountered an unseen wall. They turned back toward the woods. They moved to the unprotected fields instead. The Osage stakes wept a pale, milky sap into the damp earth. The sun warmed the raw wood. The wood released a heavy, bitter vapor into the low air. The Amish community recognized the pattern. They did not need a laboratory to see the truth. They saw the heavy wagons leaving Elias's farm. He harvested 4,000 pounds of produce, enough food to feed 10 families through the long winter. The elders gathered to examine the wood. By 1870, every Amish homestead across the valley adopted the grid. They cut the branches in late autumn. They cured the wood in dry barns. They placed the sticks in the spring. No fields were lost. No crops were eaten. The technique passed from father to son. It became a quiet law of the harvest. The outside world began to industrialize. The outside world built large factories. They boiled copper and arsenic to make Paris green. They sprayed this toxic green dust over their potatoes. They coated their apples in heavy metals. They poisoned the soil to save the crop. They traded their health for absolute control. The Amish kept their wooden stakes. The Amish kept their clean soil. The boundary line between the old ways and the new ways grew sharp. The outside world forgot the power of the raw timber. They forgot that the forest already provided the shield. The archive holds the journals. The archive holds the daily crop records. The ink is faded. The pages are brittle. The truth remains written in plain black text. The old farmers knew the secret of the sap. They knew the secret of the distance. They knew exactly how deep to bury the wood. They recorded the specific measurements. They recorded the exact timing of the timber harvest. Modern historians look at these journals and see superstition. They see primitive folklore. They refuse to look at the math. They refuse to look at the surviving fields. The stakes are still in the ground today. The boundary still holds. The wood is not magic. The wood is chemistry.